Hey there, Blade fans. We're back again, and yeah, you know who it is. It's that old sword that takes a licking and keeps on ticking. It's the old Timex commercial. Boy, that'll date you. Maybe some of you remember that. You know, they used to strap a Timex watch to all kinds of things, including a boat propeller, and drive it around and pull it off of there, and it's still ticking. Well, what do we got today for you? I have a Kubey. Haven't gotten a new Kubey in a while, but this one really interested me because I really liked that handle shape and this particular flavor of it with the copper bolster. This is called the Ruckus, and it's a Manganas design. You may recall Manganas from the Grazioso, which was his first design. I believe his first name is Sheriff. We corresponded back a while ago, and he said, no, it's not Sharif, it's Sheriff, like who shot the sheriff? I said, okay, that'll make me remember it. So Sheriff Manganas, or Manganas, if I pronounce it both ways, maybe I'll get it right, has this new creation, and the Grazioso is by Kaiser. This one is with Kubey, and Kubey does some great, clean, precise work on their knives for very few bucks in the budget arena. And I'll give you the link to this one. Off the top of my head, I can't recall, but I think this was only coming in around $60, $70, but don't quote me on that till you see the link. Look at that beautiful bead blast blade, and there's your copper bolster. Now, whereas the Grazioso that I got, and I'll show you in a minute, has a brass bolster that is shinier, this one has a copper bolster. You know, it almost looks like it's coated, but I'm going to say it's not, and that it's just bead blast. It is a very heavily textured, I don't know if it's heavily textured, but it's textured green G10 on this one with some nicely chamfered edges that gives you a really nice contour. And then this may have been bead blasted too, because it's not slick, it's not shiny, it's just really nicely textured. And nice pivot. That's the typical Kubey logo pivot. There you have the Kubey branding on the left side, and on the right side here is the Manganas logo. And this is from AUS 10. AUS 10 supposedly being an improvement on AUS 8. And it seems like there's a hate campaign against AUS 8. Cold Steel has used it a lot. A lot of other companies, including Kershaw, have used it a lot. This is AUS 10. And I recommend going out to either Steel Snobs, I think is the name of the site, steelsnobs.com, or Knife Steel Compositions app, and you can learn more about the composition and some of the characteristics of AUS 10. It is a stainless steel, so unlike things like D2, you don't have to worry about, you have to take care of any blade, but you really have to worry less about rust or corrosion for this steel. Beautiful edge, comes through pretty sharp. Maybe we'll chance a paper cut on it today. Who knows? It's a spear point looking blade with a mild swedge at the top, but really good thickness out to the point. Look at that. Piercy, but robust. Jimping has some pretty good grip to it. It's a full ramp there for your thumb. If you want to go way out, you can go here, but it's gonna, that point's gonna stick you in the thumb knuckle. Got about 3/4 of an inch left over on my hand, and let's take some measurements so we know what we're dealing with here. And I'm going to need to back out a little more. All right. Overall length of this knife is 8.1. It's just a small fraction over 8. Could even call it 8 and you'd be fine. 3.4-inch blade, cutting edge of about the same, with a nice sharpening choil there. Handle stock, or handle thickness in inches, 0.51, just a skosh over half an inch. 0.11 on the thickness, and if we go to millimeters, 2.8 millimeters. So relatively thin stock, but as you can see, it doesn't look thin. If I push a little harder, you got to get the right pressure. Oh, and you got to get it in the right place. How about 3.0 millimeters? Still 0.11. We'll go with that. And then let's bring the scale out. There are official specs if you go out to the Kubey site or anywhere where these are sold. This one came from White Mountain. Are we zeroed? It's still searching. There we go. All right, because of the copper bolster, you're going to add some weight. So it's 4.84 rounding up. And let's see if we got any weight reduction here. I think probably we do. Yeah, there's a slot, 2 slots, and a slot near the pommel on the clip side of the knife. Okay. Some of the other features. So, beautiful, smooth, practically drop shot action. Thumb stud for opening, but also a front flipper, which you can get a hold of nicely because it's got some decent jimping. But that it serves as a thumb ramp in the open position, and you got just a little nib there for your front flipper, but it works. And that's not my proclivity, is to go to the front flipper, but especially when there's a really nice thumb stud there. 2 of them, as a matter of fact. So even if you wanted to middle finger flick it on the other thumb stud, you certainly can. Interesting handle shape, as I began to say earlier. Kind of a, ellipse there, kind of a organic pod-shaped handle, which fits nicely into the palm. If you wanted to hold it back here in a saber grip, it adapts to that quite nicely. I think it will work well for an EDC working knife. I haven't cut anything with it yet, but speaking of that, I did say I'd try a paper cut, didn't I? Well, I happen to have just an itty-bitty scrap of paper here, left over from my last paper cutting debacle. Follow through. Here we go. Not bad. Yeah, I'd say it's got a good sharp working edge to start with. You can always improve on that. Put it on the strop to start with. Before I go to anything more aggressive, I see how it strops up, and that's how I maintain my knives that I get a good edge on with my KME or my TS Prof. I'm kind of gravitating to the TS Prof these days because it holds the knife so rigidly, and you can put larger knives in it too because it's got the double clamp. You can use 1 clamp or 2. How about the clip? Well, the clip is switchable to the left side for your lefties. It rides on top, and wisely they have used flat-headed screws, which a lot of the manufacturers are finally picking up on. Takes them forever, but that will keep those screws from hanging up on the seam of your pocket or your waistband or your pack or wherever you carry this thing. Nice folded over clip, and it is deep carry. I think it's going to pretty much disappear in the pocket. And the texture isn't so rough that it's going to abrade your pants or put too much pressure on there. It's a pretty good amount of spring on that clip. Unlike some springs where you can easily lift it way up, this one's got some serious tension. Not too serious, but serious. This part of the jimping right here is somewhat mitigated by the bolster. If you look at that, it does not come above the level of the bolster. But once you get out here, you're good. Let's do some compares. As I said, I have the Grazioso, made by Kaiser and designed by Manganas. And this is a reverse curve harpoon style blade. And this one is from, what do they make this one out of? It's hiding. Yeah, N690. A good steel. N690 CO, used by Fox Knives and MKM, I think, and some other makers for a long time. Bastinelli knives used it a lot. They're gravitating to M390 now. This one's got a really nice, natural, kind of weather-beaten looking micarta. I like it. I think it goes with the brass bolster. And this brass, you can tell I haven't carried it or used it much, will patina over time and kind of catch up with what's happening with the micarta here. So that's another one of Sheriff's designs. Really nice, fine jimping on this one, which I happen to like. So that's the Grazioso. Grazioso, just a teeny bit, or yeah, I'm looking directly overhead. The camera's looking at an angle. They're the same length. How about if we stick the Griptilian in there for comparison? Well, Griptilian is ever so slightly longer. Call it the same. And the Rat 1 is about an inch longer. So there you go. Rat 1's going to be larger than a lot of these medium-sized knives. I would call this a medium-sized knife. It's just about right. It's a good EDC length. It's over 3 inches, not quite 3.5. A lot of people prefer 3 1/4 as their benchmark for EDC folders. But for me, a little larger is what I like. I tend to like 3 3/4. 3.5 knives sometimes are just a bit short. And it depends upon how they set them up. Let's take a quick look before we wrap up. Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of blade to handle ratio going on there, do we? We've got about a 1/2 inch of handle left over. Could they have made it longer? Yeah, possibly. But that's really up to the designer. And is it centered? Yeah, it's dead centered. Yeah, I'm going to call that dead centered. Centered enough for me. And the action, once again, is really nice. Really smooth. On bearings. Okay. Well, let me know what you think about the Ruckus by Kubey, designed by Sheriff Manganas. We'll be back with you soon, and don't forget to give this video a like. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that little icon, my icon in the lower right corner right now, and that'll bring you to the place where you can. Be well, take care, stay safe.